Hi, I'm Morgan James, and I'm talking with Chris Gordon at Hellblazer Biz.
Everyone, I have the honour and the privilege of the company of Morgan James today. I'll say this evening because we are in the UK and it's the evening. So, hello.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And
Nice to speak to you.
yep, you too. And like we were saying, it was a plethora of travelling issues I think we've had to try and get hold of this interview. Whereas I've had issues, you've been jet setting. I've been sat stuck on commuting trains, and you've been jet setting across the world.
Yeah. Whoever the god of travel is, they've been working against it, but finally they brought us together, which is good. Something together.
They did. So I really do appreciate you coming on. Like I say, I mean, obviously the film that you promote at the moment, which is 13 Graves, which we'll get onto about later. I had the pleasure, the company of Jacob the other week, who was such a nice guy. It was unbelievable. He was just yeah. And I mean, well, all of you guys are, which is great. Like I mentioned to you just beforehand, for those who weren't aware, all of the British independent film is just, the industry is just such a close knit family, and they're so supportive. They're obviously, competition will be there because competition always exists, especially in this industry, but it's much more of a supportive section of the industry than it is a competing one. People, and it's just a lovely thing to be a part of.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point. I think not only is he supportive, I think there's a loyalty within it, because it's hard work trying to get films off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
When you come across people that they're not only talented and they're very good at what they do, but they're like Jacob, for example, Jacob Anderson is such a lovely, genuine guy, and that comes through in his work as well. So you become very loyal. You want to work with people you get on with, and you trust. So it is quite a small. You realise how many people you know who know the people you know who know, etc., etc. So it just goes on and on.
It does. I mean, as I say, my Facebook friends request has gone on and grown, and I just keep because I keep getting these friend requests through. It's like, oh, and I just keep like, oh, great, fantastic for me. But then I look through all my friends you might know, and I'm like, oh my god, they know such and such. Wow, where all these people start appearing on my friends you might know, and it's like, wow.
When you get a request from somebody and it's like 24 mutual friends, you go, yeah. 24 mutual friends if we've never been friends.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, there's quite a few of them. It's good, but it's such a nice atmosphere, and even from my side, doing this kind of thing, I've been welcomed in by people and in the industry in that sort of area. It's just such a lovely feeling, and just a great mix to be able to go out and encourage people and help people and like you say, just be loyal. That's
certainly. I was saying earlier to you, I enjoy your podcasts, and I think anything that supports that and is part of it, and obviously your love of film as well. It's sort of building that network, that support network, because social media now is obviously incredibly important, and getting the word out for particularly independent films, that's really important. So anything that can be done to help that, and anything that's enjoyable process of that is, you're going to hang on to it.
Exactly. First things first, because was there a moment in your life when you decided you wanted to be an actor?
Yeah, I can remember it vividly, actually. That's the police now.
Yeah.
Crimes against actors. I live in Dulwich, and it's very green and leafy, but I live very near a busy road and near a hospital. So what you'll probably hear is ambulances leaving the hospital.
Right. Okay.
So it's not that there's something going on outside. Yes, there was definitely a time. There were two things, really, and it was more or less at the same time. I saw a movie called Tootsie with Dustin Hoffman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And my mum took me to see it at the Coliseum in Aberdeen, South Wales, and I couldn't quite believe at the end of the film that Dorothy Michaels, his alter ego, the character he played, Tootsie, to get work as an actor.
Yeah.
Didn't exist. I didn't realise it. I was only about, I was 7 or 8 if that. I just couldn't understand how I thought, wow, how magical to be able to create, this man had created this woman. And then not so long after that, my parents signed me up for an amateur dramatics show.
Okay.
And I remember the first night on stage, it was in a production of Oliver, and it's it's a sort of bittersweet story because we were doing the glorious food number, and I had the last note, and I got up on the table, and as I got up on the table to go glorious food, my button popped on my trousers. And my trousers kept down. But I remember to this, either I was deeply pretentious or whatever, but I remember at the time going, now what would my character do with his trousers going down? After that I thought, God, I really like this actually. I really like this sort of experience. This is what I want to do. And from that I got a part in a television show when I was 9.
Wow, that's really, really good.
I was bitten really early.
Yeah.
There are times when, work's been lean and I've gone, why the hell did I do this? But actually, it's something that's always been there. So I remember those 2 moments, seminal kind of moments, that movie and being in a show and being so in it that I thought, God, this is amazing. You could just get lost. So yeah, probably round about then. And of course, being in a television show when you're 9 and seeing all that world is just...
Yeah, mind-blowing, I can imagine.
very different from school.
Yeah. Excellent. I mean, like you say, you were born and raised in South Wales as well. I actually did my some amateur dramatics in Mid Wales. I was at uni, so I did obviously North Wales, but I went down to university in Lampeter. So.
Oh, okay. My dad went to Lampeter.
Oh, did he? Oh, let's see, small world. So so it was a lovely university. It was great. We all absolutely stunning. It was. We all knew each other by name in our year because it was that small. In all the pubs. But I did some amateur dramatics in Fellenfach in the theatre close by.
Oh yeah.
So I pantomime Dame and things like that there, and we did Macbeth in the actual university studio in the hall there as well. The book.
Yeah.
And did stuff like that, and it was just you had it. You get bitten by the bug, and you don't want to let it go. And I have not done anything for 20 odd years apart from, let's say, that film I started last year. Well, that was in last year, but there's always been that bug, and it's probably the best way to describe it because whenever I see, sorry, my mouth's going. Hang on.
It's alright.
Yeah, so whenever I see and watch a film, this obviously helps what I do now is because of the passion for it. Whenever I see a film, or I go to, especially I think more so with a stage play for me, because as much as I love the film in a theatre, I just dissolve into the moment, and I did musicals in school, and ever since I missed out on one chance, I've just sat there all this time, and every time. And I'll just sit there and I will picture myself in a role on stage somewhere, and that's me for the whole night. I'm gone. I'm just sat there picturing myself and working out how I'd do it and how I would be. I mean, obviously I'd probably be crap, but
that's the power of it, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but it is. That's
to that place.
Exactly. Yeah, and that is the whole. I think that is such an essence to keep, and what makes entertainment industry and film, TV, and theatre such an ongoing and everlasting medium, because it just lets people just let go and just get drawn into whatever they're focused on at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Very, very powerful. So did you find, obviously, in Wales, obviously, I'm not knocking Wales, by the way, because obviously, I live in Wales. I'm a plastic Welshman now. I've been there for longer in Wales than I've lived anywhere else. Was the support for acting in Wales, because obviously can be quite rural, but I guess you're quite close to Cardiff and the bigger city.
Yeah, so I was in the valleys. I was hugely supported because there were a lot of amateur dramatics companies, and amateur dramatics gets a bad name sometimes, wrongly, because a lot of people want to be in theatre and want to do stuff.
Yes.
Not for a living, but that doesn't mean they're not very. That doesn't mean they're not good at it. And I was. It was run by quite a lot of teachers and people who were interested in a lot of classical works. So we did they tend to be very heavy duty works to take on, but we did a lot of classical theatre and a lot of classical pieces as well. Yeah. So I was doing a lot of very heavyweight theatre from a young age, and it was very supported by the community. Sales were high, and people would go. It was there were about 2 or 3 amateur dramatic companies, so there was quite a bit of competition there. There was nothing in my school, sadly.
Right.
But because I through an amateur dramatics company, I got a part on a TV show. I then got continued work on various TVs, usually period dramas like The Citadel and The District Nurse.
Yeah.
It was something where I kind of got a bit of a reputation as being the kind of actor within the town, which doesn't always work in your favour when you go to an all-boys school and you're on tap for a play. It's not the easiest thing sometimes. But yeah, so I sort of had a lot of support, certainly from my family and from those theatre groups that wanted me to join them. So it was I think early on I knew this was something that I wanted to go into. My aunt as well, who sadly passed away earlier this year, she was 92. She was an opera singer at the Royal Opera House in London. So we had a sort of theatre presence in the family. And we'd go to London regularly, and like you were saying, go and see every show, and she was brilliant, and she'd get us into films. I mean, she was a huge, huge influence on my life. So, there wasn't much school. Every school now does drama, and you have the option to be in drama societies, and I would have loved that opportunity. I didn't have that. But I can't say I didn't benefit, because there was enough going on in my community.
Excellent. No, it's right. I was going to knock South Wales then and say, obviously, in Wales, for those who don't listen as well, when it comes to TV and when it comes to support, there's nothing north of Carmarthen. That's a joke. Yeah.
I'm not going down that road.
Just an observation as someone in North Wales.
Just a bit of feedback.
Yeah. Just like nothing north of Watford Gap, but that's what they always say for London. There's nothing there.
It's south-centric, aren't we, as a country?
Yeah, definitely. But no, it's great to see that support, and I mean, it was like that. I say when I was in, so I think we're a similar age, so I sort of grew up in that with North Wales, where we did have drama in school. We could take that, but the drama teacher we had two separate ones, and they were both. One was very heavy going, like you said. If you wanted to do the extra, he would. So all the plays they were this full Shakespeare plays. I was the first in the world. I've told this on the last interview. I was first in the world to act a part of Three Men in a Boat by Jerome K. Jerome.
Oh wow!
Because they'd only just written the the script for it for a stage at Theatre Clwyd, who they were going to produce. They were going to run a production of it, and it was my GCSEs. We caught wind that they'd done it, and I read the book and loved it. Thought it was a hilarious novel. It really is. And so my drama teacher caught wind that they had written a script for it, and he actually wrote to them and asked would we be able to use it for the GCSE. So it wasn't the whole thing. It was just, I think, 2 scenes that we used. And we rehearsed, but we were the first in the world to actually do those, So I'm a world beater.
Yeah, Guinness Book of Records.
Yeah.
Was it at the Theatre Clwyd? Was it going to be then at Theatre Clwyd?
Yes, it was. Yeah, they were going to actually.
Was that with Terry Hands? Then was he the artistic director at the time?
I honestly can't remember. This was going back. How old am I now? This is going back nearly 30 years, 25 years. So it's a long time. I've slept a lot since then. I'll have to look it up. I will have to look it up though, because it was. I honestly can't remember who wrote it, but it was just fantastic, and they really nurtured you, and I think that's not just in Wales, that's across the country. I think if you're willing to learn like that, they will nurture and nurture the artistic side of you, as rather than just everything else. And I think in modern, this is me preaching high horse, I'm on my soapbox. I think in modern education, I think concentrates so much on logical and pushing to do. They're not allowing children and kids to grow up and be creative as much as they are, or they're losing that fact. I mean, my son's just won a filmmaking award up in North Wales as well for a little tiny 10-minute short he did. So there is a lot more being pushed out now, but I think to obviously to get to the stage you're at now, be nurtured at a younger age is something.
Oh, it's essential. It's essential. Yeah. I mean, as I say, I went to a very sporty school, and sports builds a lot of brilliant qualities like team building and confidence, and also that trust.
Yeah.
But I think it was certainly overlooked that the arts. So all the I was heavily into amateur dramatics, and I also did the National Youth Theatre a couple of times when I was old enough, and I did a little bit of telly. But all the subjects I chose were all art related, from English literature, history, which was dates,
yeah,
characters, and everything that I could do in order to stimulate that side of my brain. And I think sometimes it gets overlooked, drama, as not only as a artistic study, but it really does nurture those skills within people to creatively think, to be creatively, be an improviser, think on the spot, do different things,
Yeah.
Think outside the box. It's not just acting; it's technical. It's being visionary.
Yes.
It helps with confidence. It helps with all those things that that you take for granted, the body language and the public speaking and all those things that actually we'll come to have to do when we get older. And certainly, it took me a long time to realise, gosh, it's given me and hopefully others a lot of skill sets we don't appreciate.
Exactly. And I will say, because I've been working in IT for 20 years, and I've been done public speaking at certain conferences and things about the specialities that I've done, and I do draw back on that. And one example, you've probably heard it with Jacob when I was talking, was the wrestling that I've done recently.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's not because of me, just because of how it worked out. But I was with kids who were 16, 17. And it felt weird, yes, that I was 38, and I was training alongside kids who basically old enough to be my kids, but they were great fun. But when it came to talking, because obviously professional wrestling, American wrestling, it's all about the microphone and putting on the story. And for some reason, for me, something clicked, and I was straight out there. And I won't do all the impressions, but they used to go, right, you're going to walk out the curtain. You're going to be such and such a character, this, that, and the other, and they give you 20 seconds to go out. And I became known as the king of promos purely because I could draw on the experiences that I'd done, and the other kids were just sitting there. And I'm not being trying to be boastful, but all these little young kids who've not done that because they concentrate on the sports side of things, which again is fine, but they've not had the creative side nurtured in their lives. They were just sat there like that. I couldn't believe, 15 times I could come out there every single time with a different character and completely, just purely because I had that background of being able to reach into, and that's probably what spurred me back into this again, to be honest.
Yeah, you mentioned the word story. We tell stories. The big vogue in business now is storytelling. How can I be a better storyteller as a CEO or whatever? And it's interesting that it comes back to what we do, creatives. We tell stories, and we have to think about how do we come over, how do we interact, how do we speak, what's my body language for this, all those things that you work at them, you really do hone those skills. They're skills, and I think I wasn't aware of that because it wasn't a set subject in my school. I didn't see it as something integral, which I do think it is. I really do think it's integral.
Oh, it is, definitely. Like I say, I'm not involved as much as I want to be in the acting, but the business side of things it is, because your presentations you give, I've got various little gimmicks now, like I won't explain them all. There's like a beach ball and corks and things I'll use to introduce what things like change management or something like that would be, and it's all visual, and people absolutely love. They get so bought in because they're not just sitting there watching going like that, but having someone just drone over stuff. They've actually got someone who's interacting with them, who's displaying the bit of flair, and it's just. And I'll say that's all because got nurtured in that area, and so that's a really 10-minute way of saying being nurtured is great.
Yes, in the right way, it never goes,
No, it's always there. I say it's 20 years since I did anything really like that, but it's all still there because.
But you're still doing it. You're just doing it in a different environment.
Well, yeah, very true. Yeah, exactly. I mean, even what I'm doing now, talking to you, in a way, is because it's well, hopefully.
Till we get the crits in, and then it'll be different.
Yeah. So, if you could be directed by anyone at all, who would it be and why? And obviously, this could be going back to anyone who maybe passed away, directors or.
Well, two of my favourite directors have passed. Mike Nichols, I think, is an amazing director. Mm-hmm. Some of the best films ever made. And Sidney Pollack as well, I think, was a fantastic director. Yeah. I'm quite a classicist in that way. I love their work. I love their vision. It was classic filmmaking, and they probably learned from directors that came before them. I love Pedro Almodovar. I think he's an amazing director. Mm-hmm. I love the colours that he brings there. I've tried to learn Spanish for the last 20 years, badly, and my dream would be that I could speak it well enough that I could be considered for one of his films. I don't think that's ever going to happen. yeah, I mean, there's a huge list for me. Guillermo del Toro, I think, is brilliant.
Yeah.
Paul Greengrass, I really like. Nora Ephron, I loved as well. I thought she was a brilliant director because I think I'd like to think I'm quite eclectic in my film choices. So
Yeah.
she's passed as well. So yeah, loads of big name directors that I would have loved to have worked with. There's some directors out there now that in the indie film world that are exciting that I'd really like to work with. John Langridge, who I've just worked with, I think is a really exciting director.
Yeah.
And I want to work with him again. I think Patrick Ryder's exciting.
Yeah, he's got to make some great stuff.
Yeah. Ross Boyask as well is really exciting. He's got I think he's got a film coming out really soon, which looks fun, and they're people who love film, and they like we were talking about, they tell great stories. I think that's what the director has, the ability to just create this incredible story. Yeah, I mean, there's so many directors I like. It's one of the questions where we could probably talk about for about 50 minutes.
Oh no, yeah, you can name them all. Spielbergs and Hitchcocks and.
I mean, Spielberg's superb, isn't Scorsese superb? Of course, that's why they are who they are. They're brilliant.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean,
and Stephen Daldry as well. Actually, I think Stephen Daldry is really great director. I don't know if you've watched The Crown.
Which one? Sorry, The Crime.
The Crown. On
The Crown. No, I haven't seen that one yet. Actually, it's on my list.
Just the way what he creates on it. There's some phenomenal directors out there. Yeah.
Cool, excellent. And so, just to cause you more trouble for that, who would be your ideal co-star? Who would you like to work with? Standard stuff, just list another list of names.
I hope they're all listening. I hope all those directors are listening. Again, a Spanish feel. I think Javier Bardem is superb.
Yeah, I like him. He's good.
And Penelope Cruz, actually. Either of those would be, yes, please. And I love Stanley Tucci as well. I think he's a superb actor.
Yeah, he always seems to be just the person you always see in a film, but he plays it impeccably well. Very, very good.
He is, isn't he? If he comes into it, you go, it's every scene is going to be brilliant. I think Meryl Streep said that she owed the Devil Wears Prada performance totally to him.
Wow.
There's a quote or somewhere where she just said, he's just so brilliant. I'm rocking the Stanley Tucci now. That's what I'm hoping.
Hoping to get there, aren't you? It's funny. You're not...
I
was going to say, we just discussed that because you're not jealous of my head of hair at all.
I'm a little bit. I think Alison Janney's brilliant as well.
She was. I mean, obviously, she made herself with The West Wing, I think, and she was brilliant as CJ in that, and obviously, carrying that on, she's very, very good.
That's one of my big. You have those little moments where you think, "Oh, I wish it's not a big regret," but I was slight name dropping now. I was at the Beverly Hills Hilton Hotel a couple of years ago.
Oh, nice.
And she walked past me, and I thought, I'm going to get up. I'm just going to tell her. And I bottled it. And she looked lovely. Yeah. She looked like somebody that would have been thanks very much. But you kind of do that thing, do I go up to people? It's their downtime. They're on their own. She's relaxing. But like you just said, it was CJ from The West Wing. Again, she's somebody, if she pops up in a movie, she's superb. She's just superb.
Yeah, she is very, very good. And you're right. I mean, I actually had a moment at the theatre last year with name dropping again. I don't know, Natasha McElhone, her name is.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah,
was that in...
She was in Designated Survivor recently, but...
what did you see her in the theatre?
Oh, no, I didn't see her in the theatre, actually. I was... it was one of those moments, but I actually did go up, and then I felt really embarrassed that I'd gone up in the first place, because she'd gone to... We were watching the Mischief Theatre. Have you seen the Mischief Comedy group? Who do the play that goes wrong and
yes, yeah.
They were doing a Mischief movie night, which was basically, I was going to go into it before we talk about being able to have that skill of improvisation. They do an hour long show, but they were doing it twice a night, 2 hour long shows, and it was just improv, pure improv. They get the audience to say what the genre is, where it's going to be filmed, and then they just do an hour's improv for it. But one night I didn't realise it was the press night. I went 4 times because I loved it that much. Got a different show every time. But But I went one night and Natasha McElhone was there, and I saw her just standing out the back, and it was one of those moments I just went, I'm going to have to do it, because I'd just been watching Designated Survivor, I'd just seen the last episode of season 1, and it was just, I had to go up and ask her, and then she goes, I asked her if she could have a picture, and she was like, no, I don't really do that. And she goes, I'm just here with my family. And then obviously that was me feeling so guilty that I've just interrupted her with her family, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I just like sidled back into the background again.
Was she okay about it?
Yeah, she seemed okay. She sort of gave me a few little looks and then walked off. But I think she may. I don't know whether she may have got made feel uncomfortable or not. I don't know, because I was just hanging around for the cast then, and I don't know whether she thought I was just waiting around to try and.
It's always a tricky one, isn't it?
It is because you don't want to. Yeah, because people like you yourselves, you deserve to go out and obviously enjoy your family time as well without people harassing you all the time. So
it's a tricky one.
I was just so hyped up. I was like, and then I was like, no, you idiot! Why did you just do that? Why couldn't you just?
You know what? I'll always say, why didn't I go up to Alison Janney? And so, you tried it, and I'm sure you were very polite. I'm sure she was very polite. I'm sure it was all fine.
Yeah,
but I do. Somebody I would love to work with is her, and seeing her, I didn't even get starstruck. I mean, I did, but it's just a case of, brilliant. I think I'd never let her go, though. Do you know what I mean? I'd want to talk to her about this, and this. Because even, I don't know if you remember, she was a tiny part early on in her career in Primary Colours with John Travolta and Emma Thompson, which is a brilliant movie.
Right, I remember the film. I can't remember her in it.
I think that's Mike Nichols. And she's this tiny part. She goes up the stairs and sees the president and falls back. I think they end up having because he's a serial adulterer in the movie.
Right.
And she's got this scene which is probably 3 or 4 minutes long, if that, and you just remember for the entire film.
That's what you like. That's what you want. Is just just to be that memorable person in a moment like that.
Yeah. And I think, in answer to your question, the actors I like are probably more. I mean, those names are all leads now, but they're all people who have done very strong supportive. Another actress I think is superb is Laura Linney. Again, she's a leading actor now.
Yeah.
And Jason Bateman, I think he's brilliant, actually.
Yeah.
But they're people who have certainly supported other actors in films effortlessly. And I was excited by that.
Yeah, definitely, because it's you've got your leads and everything like that, but when you're looking at a cast, it's the supporting cast behind that, like who do sometimes in some films, especially I'd say in some Hollywood, the big blockbuster films where some of the leads may have just been boosted into some sort of popularity. I'm trying to diplomatically say that, and it's the supporting cast around them who are the real hardcore talent around there, and they're what make the film. They're what make the ones in the starring roles look. Can make them look good. Obviously, I'm not saying they have all starring roles because.
Yeah, and it's hard, isn't it? I think if you're the star, it's hard to differentiate between being a star and being a character. But to be well known, but still people lose who you are in that character. Is incredible,
Exactly. I mean, just be able to, cause that's what acting's about, isn't it? You're telling that story and you're being that character. So for people to believe the character rather than say, oh look, it's The Rock again, which I'm not saying because The Rock, he's just the most successful actor of all time, and if he comes on my show, I would absolutely probably fall on the floor. But people you identify. So, but. To be fair, you can get lost in the acting as well, and you get moved into the role of that person, and that's what makes a great actor in a great role, regardless if it's a lead or it's a supporting role, like you say. Exactly. But there are definitely a lot of supporting roles which, like you say, they're so talented at what they do in that area that they're always solid.
I think Eddie Marsan's another actor who I had the privilege and great pleasure of working with Eddie years ago on a production of Richard III, and. Obviously, he's gone on to do work with Scorsese and Mike Leigh and some fantastic films. I think he's another brilliant actor who just loses himself in every part he does. It's still even when you know somebody, you've worked with them and you watch them and they're completely different in the character. I mean, I love that transition, and yet you don't see them doing it as well. They're not working at it; they're just being. Meryl Streep's superb as well. If I could work with her, that'd be quite nice.
Excellent. Yeah, one scene will be fine.
I give a coffee or something.
Well, I keep telling people when I get them on is like, when you get into your films and stuff, if anyone wants like a little TV broadcast or a radio in the background just to be there, I said even if it's just one scene, I said I'm quite happy to, yeah, pass that through Hollywood. It will get there. No, but it's great, and it's like you say, I think there's just so much talent out there at the moment in the independent world, in the Hollywood world, in the in the main, the big, in that world, everything. It's just passionate people out there.
The two guys, the guys I've just worked with on 13 Graves are just, as we were saying earlier, that trust thing, they're a pleasure and also so talented. Jacob Anderton and Kevin Leslie, Kevin's just such a great guy. I mean, such a talented guy and loves film and is so professional and so on it. And there's some great people within the independent film, and I think that's what's exciting about independent film now as well. I think that's what's really exciting about it.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that's what makes it. Like I say, there's loads of times a reason why I think sometimes independent film's better because everyone on there, they're there. I mean, as you get the bigger successes, people they'll still love doing the film, but obviously the money's a big factor there. An independent film, everybody from the guys in front of the camera like yourselves to the guys behind the camera, you're one team, you're working so closely as a family because you've got a passion to make that film succeed. And that's
I think it's hard if you do. I've never been lucky enough to be on a blockbuster, but it must be very difficult because obviously it's financially rewarding. So
it is. It's all so segmented because they film in ice, especially the CGI, for example. You can have one actor sat there in front of a green screen with no one else around him.
Yeah.
I mean,
whereas if you see something like Three Billboards, which was obviously, I mean, big budget, but compared to Hollywood budgets, independent. But even something as big as that or something small like 13 Graves, I think you've got people who want to tell the story that they're telling and want to do it well.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a different objective completely because you're not always funded as much as you should be, so you're having to make good stuff with less financial support.
Exactly, and that's what I was trying. That's one of the things I would get at. It's not the fact that you have. I can't speak now, but you know what? Yeah, I'll just say I'll agree with what you just said.
I get it.
You get it. But yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, you've knocked up your own illustrious little career that you've got going for you as well, and I'm going to take you right back to one of them here as well, because Aberfan, because this one stuck out to me because obviously you're from the valleys yourself, and Aberfan, for those who are unaware, obviously where there's a collapse of a coal spoil tip above the Welsh village of Aberfan, which is basically it wiped out the village, didn't it? It wiped out the school, it wiped out houses.
They lost
116 children and 28 adults. It was just 1966, wasn't it?
It was the first televised, and the other thing about Aberfan was it was the first televised disaster, so the world saw it.
Yes.
It was terrible. I wasn't born, but my mother had my brothers were babies at the time, and she's a nurse, and she remembers it. My uncle was an ambulance driver, and they called them all in from the different valleys.
Yeah.
And I filmed that to mark the
60th. I think it was the 40th anniversary, wasn't it?
40th anniversary. So it was a film drama with the brilliant Jim Carter, who went to do Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
And I was playing the David Jones. I was playing a guy who basically was hung out to dry and was accused of. They wanted to pin it on someone.
Yeah.
And in the end, I think the NCB took they did take the blame, but they were trying to get an individual. So I had some lovely scenes where I'm being cross-examined about. I joked about if they keep tipping there, it'll go into the school and into the club and all this. And, it's a sad story, That's you can't help but get involved in that because it's such a terribly tragic story.
It is, and it's still very much alive and affecting people in Wales, especially obviously around those villages, because it's 50 years on now we are, and it's and we've just had the it was 2 years ago it would have been the 50th anniversary, and I remember I was in tears watching it back then as well, and just thinking 50 years on, even just how horrendous.
Wiped out an entire generation.
It did. That village was just gone. They say one generation of kids because they were all, bless them, they'd only just gone in for register, hadn't they, to have the names taken in.
It was the first day back after the summer holidays, or
Yeah.
after Easter. One of the
I think it's one of the holidays, wasn't it? They just got back, and then it was just So,
and it just rained constantly.
Yeah, and it was just,
which it does in Wales.
It does, yeah. For anyone who knows Wales, you get a nice summer, and it was a nice day. That was the.
If you're lucky.
Yeah, if you're lucky, you might get an hour of summer in Wales.
It was a real privilege to do, actually, to be part of that as a film, and dark subject matter, sad subject matter.
It is, definitely, but I think it's one that needs to be told, that because lessons learned and things like that, and things have changed a lot since then in respects to that industry, and how bloody Tories closed them all down for starters. But it's things that safety methods and the way things have been done have done so much change. And it was exactly the terrible cost of showing an example of that, of those poor 140, wasn't it, in total, or something like that, 116 kids, all primary school age as well. It was just it's just I'm emotional now just talking and just thinking about how you could just get rid of that. But you did a great job. That's at the end of the day, pushing that across, and getting the message.
Really moving film,
yeah. And moving on, I mean, there's a couple of other things as well before we move on to your new film. Is Being Human. That's another favourite of mine. I love that, and I know you were number 7 in that one as well. How was it like filming that? Because obviously, I think by that time the popularity was known, how popular it was.
I think it was huge by that time. It was really quite odd. Having done that, I was getting outright offers for anything independent or films that involve vampires.
Right.
So I was in season 3, I think, and I was playing number 7, who was the 7th Gimp to a character who was a recurring villain, brilliantly played by the Welsh actor Mark Lewis-Jones.
Okay, yeah.
And my character, who I never actually got a name. They never actually gave me a name, and I decided, you know what? Because of where I was in it, I had left my wife and my children on my job and thrown everything behind me because I was empty. And he chose me out of millions. I remember a scene with Russell Tovey where they're trying to say, but you're going to die. And I said, yeah, but he's chosen me out of millions. So him and his wife gradually are going to eat me bit by bit.
Yes.
It's absurd. Revolting storyline. And we had, I think the opening scene is me in a gimp suit running up a lawn in high heels and him chasing me and tickling me like a dog. It wasn't remotely humiliating. In fact,
no, not.
Easy. No, not remotely humiliating. Yeah, that was a very different job.
Yeah. What one we don't talk about.
Hot as well.
Yeah, I can imagine those. I'm not going to say I've got any experience of wearing one, but I can imagine how hot they are.
God, I can't tell you how early I had to get called. I think it took about 2.5 hours.
Bloody hell.
To get it on and get it all, so it doesn't, so it doesn't bubble and stuff. And then, it was talking of Welsh weather. It was one of the hottest weeks in Wales. We filmed down in Penarth.
Right.
In South Wales, very near Cardiff, and it was baking.
Yeah.
Aching hot. And I'm there in a full head to toe, no mask, head to toe, latex, rubber, gimp outfit with heels. Flowers on it.
No.
Even the toilet takes about 45 minutes.
Bloody hell.
Anyway, we don't want to go into that.
That's another show. That's the Triple X after midnight version.
Yeah.
Which Patrick will be on. Yeah. Sorry, joking.
It is.
Oh, cool, excellent. So obviously, talking about the one that you've done now. Sorry, it's in post production. I obviously spoke to Jacob a few weeks ago, which is 13 Graves, where he's alongside Jacob, Terry Dwyer, and Kevin Leslie as well. So what can you tell me about that film?
So we shot it in November. Of course, a couple of weeks in November down in Eastbourne, entirely on location in woods, just after Storm Brian. Was it called Storm Brian?
Possibly, yeah. I think it
I
might.
think Storm Brian was our first day, which we never.
Lovely.
We spent the rest of the shoot catching up what Storm Brian had devastated time wise, and then we did pickups at the end of February, and it's basically we're looking hopefully within the next month or so for the release. It's Evolutionary Films and Drop Dead Films, and as you've said, it's me and the brilliant Kevin Leslie, Jacob Anderson, and Terry. In it, and he's superb.
Yeah.
And without giving too much away, it's a horror / thriller.
Okay.
So I don't know how much I can say about it, but it's fine. I mean, it's about Kevin and I are two hitmen who are about to dispatch our latest victim.
Right.
We have a location that we use quite regularly, and circumstances undo us and the whole situation. Really, a certain thing happens, and all of a sudden we have an opportunity for retribution, which not for retribution, but to absolve ourselves.
Okay.
Which we don't take, and it all goes wrong after that.
Excellent. Sounds great.
It's my first horror. I don't know if I should say this. I respect it enormously now. I'm not really good with horror. I get quite terrified with horror. So it was ironic that I'd be playing this guy in this horror film. But it was a lot of fun. And as we were saying earlier, it's a great team of people really worked solidly to make this happen. I think we'll have to wait and see. I'm quite excited about it. Kevin's brilliant. He's a joy. And I think Jacob touched on this as well. We were all in Cannes for the festival where the film's being sold. And we all met up. So me, Kevin, John, Langridge, the director, and Jacob. We went down for the weekend together. And what's really lovely about that film, whatever comes of it, and I wish it and hope all the success for it. But what is lovely is I've made friends on it, and I know that sounds a little trite sometimes, but it's this business can be really quite hard. You go in, you do a day, or you do that's it. And we were together from the beginning to the end of the shoot, which was great. We had a month together, but we've become friends, which is really lovely. So it's got a place in my heart already, this film. So I've made really firm friends there, and I think John's a really exciting director as well. We're hoping to work together again.
Excellent. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah. What was the most favourite memory working on the film?
So the favourite memory, apart from, again, without over egging it, apart from meeting the guys, so making friends, which really is, they're such good blokes. I love them. Apart from that, I would say my favourite memory was probably the hardest thing. So I think I'd only been on set about a day, and it was freezing, and I had to spend, I think, in the end, 7 hours up to my knees in a bog. Redoing it, I had 2 suits, so obviously I have a clean suit. Just redo it. There's a chase goes on, and without giving too much away, I end up compromised. And it was, in the end, you just have to go with it.
Yeah.
And my character's not a pleasant character. He's not a very nice man. And he's quite an angry man. And it's interesting that helped immensely. For 3 hours. Yeah. You're angry. So I'm hoping that scene really shines, because I was furious at that point.
Exactly. Method acting.
Oh, yeah, God. That's probably one of my favourite bits. But yeah, all of it, I have to say, it was a long shoot with regards to, long hours. Yeah. But it was down to the people, really. It was a pleasure.
Fantastic. And obviously, I always say, congrats to you all for the Cannes, being shown in Cannes, and so, that was amazing.
Really exciting. Cannes was, Cannes was mad. Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
It's one of those things you always see on TV, and you're just like, that just looks an absolute madhouse.
There's very different characters there. I'll be political and say that. A lot of different characters.
Yeah.
Some you love being around, and others you kind of go, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, divas. I said it, not you. Don't worry.
I'll just off and nod.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good fun. It was great, and yeah, brilliant to be involved in something down there. Which is good. Evolutionary Films are working really hard on distributing it at the moment, so that's
Brilliant.
exciting.
That's fantastic news indeed. And talking of characters, that brings me on to my final question. Which you are well aware of, because you've heard, you all watch them all now. You all watch each other's. You all listen to each other's.
Yeah, but I'll be honest. But ask it anyway.
I will ask you anyway. I'm sure you better. If you could have the Muppet Neg created after you, who would it be? What kind of character would it be, and why?
Well, in school, by my friends, I was known as Beaker because I could do a really good impression. I don't think I can now, so don't. But I had quite a long head and really bushy hair, so they used to call me Beaker. And so when I thought of that question, I thought I'm going to go with Beaker. But because of how I look now, I probably would be the scientist who works with Beaker.
All right, yeah, Bunsen, yeah.
Do you know what I always loved? I always loved Fish. I thought she was brilliant. You know?
Fish. Oh, yeah. The from the Mayhem.
And
yeah. Magical Mayhem. Come
on. But yeah, I'm going to go with Beaker.
Okay, fair enough.
Can I go for Beaker?
Yeah, you can go for Beaker. That's a new one. No one's
done
it. No.
You do really good Muppet impressions. Can you do Beaker?
I can't do Beaker. No, actually, I can't do Beaker. I've not done Beaker.
I love how intense you got there in your face.
I know, yeah. This is
you do a very good Miss Piggy, don't you? And a very good Kermit.
Yeah, this is my acting, darling.
Take
it's the serious. Was it Benedict Cumberbatch does in that video? It's the serious.
He's about to do Beaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd do Beaker. Or after doing this film, actually, I think there's quite Kevin and Jacob would probably attest to this. It probably is quite a bit of animal in me.
All right, fair enough.
Which I didn't realise.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, that's what they'd say anyway. But yeah, any of those. So I'm going to cross between an animal and Beaker, which is quite a difficult.
That's a difficult one to do.
Do we make a new Muppet?
Yeah, you can. You can be a new Muppet, so you can have a Muppet. Yeah, an animal be yeah, that'd be interesting.
An animal lab attendant.
Yeah. Because you can see where that goes wrong.
Yeah, so much mileage in that.
Someone got me doing Gonzo the other day because I can't remember who it was, but I just think it sounded like Yoda. It was like, what was it? The Marleys were dead to begin. See, it doesn't sound right, does it?
It's there, but it's quite Yoda, yeah.
Yeah, it's Yoda's thing. It's like the Marley. No, see, this comes out as Yoda. It's all the time. It's always Yoda because I do the inflection, so I can't do it.
Try it again.
The Marleys were dead to begin with, but it doesn't sound. See, it goes into Yoda again.
I can get Gonzo. He's there.
It's there. It just needs work, I think. You know.
Yeah, it just needs work.
To begin with, the Marleys, they were.
That's Yoda.
Yeah. So I'm so used to doing that over the years. When someone says Gonzo, every time I do Gonzo, it turns into Yoda speaking normally. What can you do? Never mind. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before I finish recording? Then Morgan, to the people who are watching and listening, and I'll say watching again because you weren't even aware.
I was unaware, but that's fine. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, Chris. I've really enjoyed it. I suppose what I should say is go and watch 13 Graves. It should be out soon, and enjoy it. Let us know what you think. And also keep listening and watching Hellblazer Biz for up-to-date indie film and film gossip and chat.
Thank you, Morgan. Everyone, thank you very much. This has been Chris Gordon with Morgan James on Hellblazer Biz. You can follow me, as always, at Hellblazer Biz at Twitter. Hellblazer Biz on iTunes and YouTube. You can find me as well as Podbean. Spotify, tunein.com, and much, much more. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for your support. This is Chris Gordon saying, till next time.